Welcome back to Crime Scene X. Today's video will cover 3 disturbing and true hospital horror stories. If you like the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for daily uploads. The smell of antiseptic and the ceaseless chatter of medical machines were the only companions I had in my small room at the hospital. I was there for what should have been a simple appendectomy. My roommate Emily was an older woman recovering from gallbladder surgery. Our mutual discomfort forged a quick, if shallow, camaraderie. We were both scheduled for release in 2 days, and the plan was to get through it with as little drama as possible. The hospital itself wasn't the most modern establishment. Security was lax, and every now and then you'd hear about some local addict making their way into the hospital to steal pain medications. Because of this, the hospital had implemented a new door locking system, where only staff had access to patient rooms during nighttime hours. It seemed a bit extreme, but given the stories, I understood why they did it. On the second night of my stay, Emily seemed uneasy. "Have you ever felt like you're being watched?" she asked. "I can't say that I have, at least not here," I responded, trying to keep the conversation light. "Well, I do. Last night, I swear someone was in here. I heard footsteps." I chalked it up to the disorienting environment and the medications we were both on. "This place can play tricks on your mind," I said, attempting to reassure her. That night, sleep came reluctantly. Sometime around 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by a stifled scream. My eyes darted to Emily's bed, where I saw a silhouette looming over her. Someone was in the room with us. I fumbled for the bedside lamp and flicked it on just in time to see a masked figure bolt towards the door. Panic surged through my veins. I mashed the nurse call button as Emily began to sob. Nurses and security arrived within moments, but by then the intruder was long gone. A quick examination revealed that Emily had been bruised, but was otherwise okay. The room was a mess, with medications scattered about. Whoever had been in there had been looking for something specific, and was willing to assault a patient to get it. The security team scoured the hospital and eventually found a janitor's closet where a window had been forced open. It was unnerving to think someone had been lurking in the hospital, lying in wait. "What now?" I asked one of the nurses, my voice tinged with fear and disbelief. "We're going to move you both to a different floor. The police are coming to investigate, and we're immediately reviewing all security protocols." "I can't apologize enough," she said, visibly shaken. We were relocated to another room, this one under far more watchful eyes. Despite the added security, sleep eluded me. Every creak of the floor, every rustle of the curtains sent my heart into overdrive. Emily was given something to help her sleep, and although I was offered the same, I declined. My trust in this place was shattered, and I felt safer on high alert. The next day, we were informed that they had arrested a suspect, a local known for petty crimes and drug-related offenses. The hospital administration assured us that measures would be taken to prevent this from happening again, but their words did little to restore my sense of security. The ordeal opened my eyes to a terrifying reality. Hospitals, the very places we go for safety and healing, can have their own set of dangers. I had gone through countless x-rays and tests before they found it. A small tumor nestled against my spine. While not malignant, the location made it risky, necessitating immediate surgery to remove it before it could cause any serious complications. That's how I found myself in Cedar Grove Hospital, an aging medical facility that had seen better days. The hospital was underfunded and overworked, a relic of the past struggling to keep up with the increasing demands of a growing population. The paint was peeling off the walls, the rooms were cramped, and the staff seemed as tired as the building itself. I was assigned a room on the 5th floor, with a view overlooking the parking lot. A patient named Sarah occupied the bed next to me. She was recovering from a hip replacement surgery and was eager to go home. The room was sterile, devoid of personal touches, but what caught my eye was an outdated computer system beside each bed. They looked like they were from the early 2000s and had stickers that said, "For emergency use only." On the night before my surgery, the room was filled with an odd sense of tension. Sarah looked restless, tossing and turning in her bed. I decided to distract myself by reading a book. I was deep into the chapters when I heard it, a soft, choked cough from Sarah's bed. I looked up and saw her clutching her throat, her face flushed red. I hit the nurse call button, and after what felt like an eternity, a nurse arrived. Sarah was having an allergic reaction to some medication she had been administered earlier. They acted quickly, giving her an antihistamine. Soon her breathing returned to normal, but her face was still flushed from the ordeal. "The computer should have flagged the allergy," the nurse muttered, staring at the old machine beside Sarah's bed. "I don't know why it didn't alert us." Once Sarah was stable, I couldn't help but look at the computer next to my own bed. Could I trust it to flag any potential issues with my upcoming surgery? The outdated technology seemed like an unsettling metaphor for the whole hospital, doing its best, but still falling short. The next day, my surgery went ahead as planned. When I woke up in the recovery room, groggy and disoriented, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. But that relief was short-lived. I was wheeled back to my room still feeling the effects of the anesthesia when I noticed something was wrong. My IV seemed to be dripping too fast. I glanced at the old computer system beside me, but it showed no alerts. Fearing another oversight, I reached for the nurse call button, only to find it disconnected, the wire hanging loose. Panic surged through me. I felt lightheaded, probably from the fast-dripping IV. I tried to shout, but my voice was barely a whisper. Struggling against the disorientation, I managed to pull the IV from my arm, wincing at the sharp pain. My heart was pounding as I looked at the pool of medicine spreading across my sheets. It took another 20 minutes before a nurse walked in for a routine check. She gasped at the sight of the disconnected IV and the soaked bedsheet. After a quick assessment, she confirmed that the IV had indeed been administering medication at a dangerous rate. "We'll look into it," she assured me, her face flushed with concern and perhaps embarrassment. "The computer should have alerted us. I don't know why it didn't." But I knew why. I was in a hospital that was running on outdated equipment and stretched too thin staff, where technological glitches could easily translate into life-threatening situations. In that moment, I realized I was trapped in a very real, very flawed system. The ordeal left me shaken, even after they moved me to another room with slightly more updated equipment. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was always one glitch away from another close call, in a place where the margin for error was terrifyingly small. And so, even as I lay there on what should be the safer side of my surgery, I couldn't escape the gnawing feeling of vulnerability. I was scheduled for a minor surgery to remove a benign cyst, an outpatient procedure that would take no more than a couple of hours. The evening before, the pre-admission nurse walked me through the necessary paperwork and gave me a quick rundown of how the following day would go. She was efficient but visibly tired, as if the weight of the day had slowly eroded her initial vigor. Eventually, I was settled into a single occupancy room where I would spend the night. The room was nondescript, adorned with the standard pale walls, a television set, and a window overlooking the parking lot. On the table beside my bed, a tray of bland hospital food awaited me. As the evening wore on, I could hear the sounds of the hospital settling into its nighttime rhythm, the distant murmurs of medical staff, the faint whirring of machines, the sporadic footsteps in the hallway outside. Despite this backdrop of constant activity, I felt isolated, almost as if I were in a bubble separate from the world outside. After a restless attempt at sleep, I heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps growing louder, approaching my door. I assumed it was a nurse coming in for a routine check, but when the door swung open, it wasn't a nurse who walked in. It was a man, wearing a surgical mask and scrubs, but something felt off. The way he moved, the way he looked around the room, nothing about him suggested he belonged there. My heart pounded as he approached my bed, his eyes scanning the various medical supplies laid out on a nearby trolley. He picked up a syringe and began filling it with a liquid from a small vial. "What are you doing?" I stammered, my voice tinged with panic. "Administering your pre-op medication," he replied, his voice muffled behind the mask. "I haven't been informed about this. Can you call my doctor or the nurse in charge?" His eyes met mine, and for a moment he hesitated. That split-second pause was enough to escalate my alarm. I reached for the nurse call button beside my bed and pressed it frantically. The man's demeanor changed instantly. With a hurried glance towards the door, he placed the syringe back on the trolley and bolted out of the room. Within seconds, a nurse rushed in, her eyes wide with concern. "Is everything okay? Why did you call?" I recounted the unsettling encounter, my hands still trembling. The nurse's face turned pale, That shouldn't have happened. I'll alert security immediately." A thorough search of the hospital followed, but the man was nowhere to be found. Security footage later showed an unidentified individual in scrubs exiting through a side door, blending in seamlessly with the hospital's late-night staff rotations. The incident led to an immediate review of security protocols, and I was reassigned to another room, this one under constant surveillance. Despite these measures, the sense of vulnerability I felt couldn't be easily erased. When the day for my surgery arrived, I lay on the operating table with a newfound awareness of how delicate the boundary is between safety and peril. The surgery went off without a hitch, but the events of that night left an indelible mark on my psyche. I realized that sometimes the most tangible fears aren't the elaborate figments of our imagination, but the real-life possibilities that lurk in moments of human oversight, in the cracks and gaps of systems we rely upon for our well-being. Though I left the hospital physically healed, the emotional wound took far longer to mend. In the back of my mind, a lingering doubt remained, a haunting question I couldn't shake. What if I hadn't pressed the nurse call button? What would have happened? Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like the video, comment what you thought, and subscribe for daily uploads.